Yes, I am.
Okay, that's cool. Uh-huh.
Hi, welcome to the Bookish Ventures podcast. Bookish is an online magazine dedicated to writers, book promotion, and publishing. We are here today with Mansu Edwards, who is a filmmaker and also a writer. And did I pronounce your name correctly?
Oh, yes, you pronounced it correctly.
Okay,
Thanks for
great.
having me. I really appreciate it.
So, why don't you give me a brief bio about you and then also some of the stuff that you're involved in?
Okay. Well, my name is Mansu Edwards. Calling from New York City. As you can see, you can hear noise in the background, so you might hear a car, a truck horn, what have you. But basically, I've been writing for a long time. I have several books, Sex in New York City, Mental Diet, The Disappearance of Hate, Biscuits and Yoga, Volume 1. I think that just about covers it. And with Text in New York City, I did 2 editions. The first edition, it was a collection of sex messages between various New Yorkers. And I decided to do a short film based on the movie. So the movie, I used a few characters from the original book, Wisdom Infinite, Lord Iceland, Patricia, and then I added a few other characters as well because I wanted to make sure that there was an actual premise of the film. So the storyline was a college student, a homeless college student, who loses himself on the train while seeing an attractive black woman on the train platform. And this is him in the film. And the story develops from there. I thought that it would have been a cool idea. Basically, I received, excuse the noise in the background. Basically, I did, what you about to say?
No, I was just laughing. Yeah, I definitely hear some background noise, but I guess that's what happens when you take a call in New York City.
And basically, the idea came from the public because when I was selling my book on the streets, a lot of people said it sounded like a movie or a play. And so it dawned on me. I was thinking, you know what? Why not just do a movie instead of a couple of years from now or a year from now, someone reads the book and asks me, is it possible for them to make a film adaptation of the book? So I figured out why not just do it myself? So I just decided to do it myself, and I just had a lot of help from various people. Like the actors were amazing, also the cinematographer as well, and the editor. I know I'm not gonna remember everyone's name. I'll do my best, like Oscar, John, Dee, who else? Rasheen, basically everyone. Excuse me for the names that I forgot, but it was definitely a great project, and it was fun working with everyone.
So I watched Texting in New York, and it's on YouTube. One scene that I kind of took note of was when somebody hands over the autobiography of Malcolm X. So here's my story. I remember in high school, I had, of all things, a calculus teacher who pretty much was anti Malcolm X. And she was white, talked about how upsetting and just misguided the autobiography of Malcolm X was. So, needless to say, I mean, I was into other things. I was really into Franz Kafka when I was in high school, and also I started reading in the Russian authors. So I kind of neglected to read Malcolm X, but it was always in the back of my brain because I'm like, why is she so against it? I read it in college, in undergrad, and I was kind of blown away by the book. It starts off with just extreme racism, and the experiences Malcolm X had, they were very traumatic. Just very traumatic. I mean, it starts off with his home being set on fire. due to racism. I think it's actually a great book, and it's a wonderful book to teach about racism. But the thing that struck me most was all the trauma that he underwent. And from my perspective, it really explains his political positions. I mean, what's your take? I mean, I'm assuming you've read it, so what's your take on it?
Yes, I've read it. That was quite some time ago. It was over 10 years ago. But basically, it was just a man's transformation. That was basically it. And Malcolm X should be applauded. Because, I mean, he was a pimp, and he became someone who was for the rights of black people. He was for black empowerment. I mean, you can't get any better than that. I mean, he was for uplifting the black race. I mean, look what he did. I mean, he basically wanted black people to have a sense of self, have self-esteem, him and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They didn't want us to become dependent on a white race. And I don't know your teacher or what have you, but maybe she felt some sort of way because he was expressing black people's displeasure of how they're treated by the white establishment. And it's something that works on the psyche of millions of black people. It even works on the psyche of blacks today. I mean, still nothing has changed. I mean, it's just in a different form, but white supremacy, that's something that it destroys a lot of black people. And that's the number one reason why black people, why we're in a predicament that we're in. And there's nothing wrong with empowering yourself and doing for yourself. And I mean, he was able to get a lot of black people off of drugs. He was able to enlighten them about their history. And a nation of people can't go anywhere without knowing their history. Because you have to know that you come from a great stock of people, a great lineage. You come from royalty. I mean, you've done so much for the nation, and look how you treated. I mean, we was brought over here from Africa, I mean, just to be put to work. You know what I mean? We were separated from our tribe. We were told that we're nothing. We were told that we're lazy, that we're shiftless, that we're criminals. But that's not even true. Because if we're lazy and shiftless, why do you have us working for you? That's the thing that gets. And the thing about it is, the problem that they have back then, we're still having today.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And the thing I like about Malcolm X is that he believed in what he said. I mean, the man, he definitely didn't. He never changed. He never changed his spot. He was for black people, and he died for people. And at the end of his life, what he wanted to do, like he wanted to basically wanted to work with other African people as well, because he wanted to. I guess he wanted to build. Yeah, he wanted to unify and just help out black people. There's nothing wrong with helping out your own, because other races can't help out their own. But when it comes to black people, it's a problem. But then again, it's not. But then again, like, it's nothing but propaganda, because in one sense, you're saying that we're lazy and shiftless, and then when we start doing for self, all of a sudden, it raises a red flag. Now you have to worry about being assassinated.
Right.
And then another thing that you have to worry about them infiltrating your movement. But then again, empowering ourselves. But it's not about that. The only thing it's about is control and power. That's all it really is. You want to control people, and if you can't control someone, you kill them, or you set up. As you can see, they'll set up a puppet government as well, and they've been doing that throughout time. I mean, only thing it just confuse people. That's just basically it. They don't want to see black people get themselves together. Even back then, they didn't like that, because you can't control someone. They're dangerous, and that's why they didn't like Malcolm X. Because even when there was a black man who was jailed, and Malcolm X was able to assemble masses of black people, thousands of black people, to make sure the brother was all right. And I think it was an officer, what have you, said that no black man should have that that much power, and that's what it is today. They don't want to see a black man have that much power. I mean, you could say what you want about us being lazy and shiftless and black on black crime, which is also that's a myth. And that's based on white supremacy as well. And I believe Brother Malcolm X believe the same thing as well, because white supremacy, that creates black on black. Well, there's no such thing as black on black crime anyway, because crime is crime. They never say white on black crime. I mean, because you kill who you around. Even though I don't think you shouldn't kill someone that's in your vicinity. You shouldn't kill anyone at all. But if you're told that you're nothing and that you can't think for yourself and that you're powerless and that you're not smart, any person that look like you, you're gonna look down on them, and you're gonna wanna harm that person as well. And plus, you know that nothing will happen to you killing someone that looks like you. But if you kill someone white, and I'm not advocating that at all, it'll be excuse the background noise. It'll be a totally different story, because if you kill somebody black, it's basically, it doesn't mean anything to society. Just another black man dead, and then justice is never served. Mm-hmm. And Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad, they did a lot for black people, though. They did a lot, and that's why a lot of white people don't like them.
Well, let's talk about a part of the book that you brought up, and that's it. It's pretty much a universal theme, regardless of race, and that's one man's or one person's, to be less sexist, one person's transformation. One of the things that I found particularly compelling about Malcolm X's biography is this psychological notion of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we have a certain race, and it's not just blacks. We also currently in this country have the same idea about Muslims. And we consider them criminals. Just automatically by virtue of the color of their skin or their religion, you are criminals. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So he ended up in prison, but it shouldn't be a big surprise for a race that we already consider to be criminals by the establishment. And one of the things that is particularly, I find, egregious in our current society is this enormously large prison population that we have. And most of the people in prison are black first and then Hispanic. And it's particularly egregious because if you look at it statistically, African Americans only constitute 13% of the US population, but they are the majority of the prison population. So what's going on there? Is it a self-fulfilling prophecy where we just consider every black man to be a criminal unless they prove otherwise? Or is it that we're creating social conditions based on an ideology of racism that's creating this large prison system?
Yeah, well, basically my thoughts on that is that, I mean, white people have a history of killing people all around the world. And then when it comes to other groups, all of a sudden, it's that, oh, it's so bad. They dropping bombs, they killing. We have to be careful. We have to be united. We need everyone together. But hey, your history, you've been running around the world forever, killing, shooting, robbing, stealing. It's been deception. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, white people have used everything, and then, everything in their toolbox to get what they wanted. They were burning black people, barbecuing black people, had postcards of burning and barbecuing black people, cutting fetuses out of pregnant women, whipping people, stealing resources. Then saying Africa is bad, but if Africa is bad, what are you doing there? There's a lot of white immigrants that came to America. To me, I don't have anything against someone coming to America and making a living. I mean, that's how America was built. But of course, when the when the faces are darker, there's a problem. But the thing I don't like about it is basically that white America would have you is it's just a double standard, and everybody knows it. Even a Mexican man that maybe can't verbalize it in English, he's saying it in Spanish, like, yo, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically is crazy. And basically what it is, I mean, to be real with it, it's a mental illness. That's basically what it is. I mean, you actually think that you're better than another race of people, someone that you dominated, and someone that you use, and someone that you even use trickery to get what you wanted. And it's like, I just don't agree with that at all. And then you want help from black people when you're having a problem. That's what I don't like at all. I mean, when we going through things, it's, oh, you shouldn't wear a hoodie, or you shouldn't have been out late at night. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Another thing about it as well, oh, let's look at his past record. Oh, he did this back then. But when it's with white people, all right, oh, he was a young man. You know what? He comes from a very abusive family. He didn't know what he was doing. Oh, we'll just give him probation. But if it's a Latino man or black man, forget about it. They do not want to hear that. It's always about what happened 10, 20 years ago. He's a monster. It just would ruin a person's life. But I thought this was a nation where people get second chances. What happened to that second chance? But we're black, or we Latino, or we're such and such. We don't get a second chance. But if you white, you get a second chance, you get a third chance, you get a fourth chance. I mean, all these chances y'all get. And then the thing about it is the history. I mean, the history has just been barbarism. That's basically it. It just take what we want to take, and we're gonna bully and intimidate you. And that's what's been going on with the police and police and everywhere else. I mean, we just looked at it as subhuman, and other people as well, because a lot of white people, they look at people of color as beneath them. They have a superiority complex. You know everything. All right, he's black. He knows nothing. Let's see what the white man say.
Right.
I mean, it's really insanity, and that's what it's all about anyway. It's to drive people insane, and that's why I think a lot of people are losing their sense of self out here and losing their mind. Because that's all what it is. It's absolutely crazy. And then you have people of different ethnicities trying to look white and act white and all this other stuff instead of being themselves, instead of appreciating their African roots and things of that nature. It's like, oh, I have to act white and be white to be accepted. And I'll never be the case. I don't care how many views you have. Whether you black, Latino, or Indian, you're still going to be a person of color. They might even call you a nigga too, even though you're not black. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you can never be white. I don't care what you do. I don't even care if you cooned out. You'll never be accepted. And that's how it was designed. Another thing is that it's a smoke screen as well, because they talk about, oh, it's the human race. I don't see color. Oh, my friend is black. I don't care if you're purple, yellow, orange, and all this other stuff. And only thing it is
no, and yeah, and let's be honest here. Just about everybody is racist and discriminatory. It just is. And it's not necessarily anything biological. I know there are people out there who try to find a DNA basis for having this out of bounds fear, but it's really cultural. And it's something, and if it's cultural, that means it's environmental. It's nothing that's ingrained in the DNA of our brain. But let's talk about fear, because fear is something that is genetic and evolutionary and seated in our brain, and it starts with the brainstem. Fear is an actual thing that we do have, but what we end up fearing varies between culture and culture and culture. So, you know, I mean, I've heard arguments like, oh, well, you know, early man, you know, heard a rumble in the bushes and One man ran away, but one man stood there curious, and maybe it was a dangerous animal, and that curious man got killed, so therefore he was not biologically fit, because the man who ran away, who was actually the one who survived in maybe 20% of the cases. So biologically, from an evolutionary perspective, fitness is surviving and propagating. So I can see how fear feeds into our ability to survive. But in our day and age, why are we still so afraid of things that we find different from us?
Yeah, I disagree with your argument, but I mean, you just have a different perspective, because I don't think racism is cultural. I just don't believe that, because I think, in general, people of color, black people, Latino people, Indian people, I think we're more accepting of people, in my opinion. I think it's just something that we learn from the white culture. That's what I believe. I believe that it is. Because I just believe, like, in this day and age, like, a lot of white people, like, how do you feel black people? To me, that doesn't even make sense. It's like we live in the 1800s, and I see it to this day. Like, white people act funny, and they act, but they fear black people, and we don't want to build the economy. How you gonna? To me, why would you fear someone that helped you build up an economy? But we were forced to do it anyway. We should be treated like kings and queens out here. And I just don't agree with that argument. But I believe that we all fear something. I mean, that is true. But why would you fear someone that actually helped you, actually raise your children, even though we were forced to do that?
But that is cultural. But that is, so if we look at slavery, that is cultural, because let's be honest, slavery was not capitalism. Slavery was the opposite of what Adam Smith advocated in The Wealth of Nations. Here's a couple of reasons why. First off, you have to pay for your labor before you actually get any labor. That's different from what Adam Smith advocated in capitalism, because you have to buy the slave to get them to work on your plantation or to do any work for you. So that's a nick against it being a capitalistic or fruitful thing. And then the other thing is, you have to pay for the upkeep of that slave. So in capitalism, you just pay them a wage and that's it. They walk away at the end of their workday and you don't have to worry about them. But slave owners, they had to worry about, they had to feed them and clothe them, however insufficient they did it, but they still had to do it, because if they didn't, then they couldn't pick cotton for them, right? So there's this idea, and I think it's generated by the movie Gone with the Wind, and possibly the book Gone with the Wind, where slavery and the South was somehow this financial boon. It was just this really rich scenario, and the thing is that it wasn't. The South was not outproducing the North. The North was far more wealthy than the South, and the reason why the South was not wealthy is because they had slavery, which pretty much goes against the grain of any capitalistic principles.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. But it was still capitalism to me, because you're not going to have slaves just to have slaves. There's money involved.
There's money involved, but not as much money. That's my point. Not as much money as they could have had they followed the Norse model of not having slaves and just paying an hourly wage or a day wage.
Well, it was still slavery in New York as well. But like I was saying is that it was just money involved, and basically it was a lot of poor whites back then. Not every white person was a slave owner. It was only a small percentage. The people that had the money would have you. It was still bad, and what they did was they separated the blacks from the whites, saying that the blacks were taking their jobs away from the white people that were working for the slave owners, and so the white people, they just looked at the black people as a threat. But we were forced to work, and that's basically basically what it is. It was about money, because still America today is still generating a lot of money off of slavery.
We are generating a lot of money off of the prison system too, since we privatized most of the prison systems. So, and let's keep in mind that the majority of the people in prison are actually Black. So it's still a slave culture in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but it's slavery out here too. But just like with the cops, they were originally slave catchers anyway. That's why you have police officers today, and it's still a form of slavery, because America is prosperous and productive because of slavery. I mean, a lot of things that we see is just based off of slavery. Mm-hmm. That's just what it is. And with the Blacks and Latinos in jails, it's the same thing. And we're only a small segment of the population. It's just that we don't particularly care for Blacks and Latinos, and we get in charge, and we getting a lot of years for crimes that, to me, it really doesn't make sense. And compared to a white person, we're gonna get more years, and that's just not fair. And that's just how it's been. And it's just based on capitalism. Just white people that just want to control and bully people. That's just basically it. I mean, not all white people, because not all white people are white supremacists, and everyone knows that. But the thing about it is that a lot of white people play dumb. No, we don't know, and then try to intellectualize it. But everyone knows what's really going on. I mean, you can play dumb, but a lot of people really know what exactly is going on in society, because it's in plain view. But you say, oh, it's not the truth, and it's this and that. Everybody knows. I mean, that's just common sense. Even kids know what's going on. Even the white kids and the Black kids, they probably think that something's not right. Mm-hmm. They might not have the mindset to verbalize it as well, but it's just the thing that I like about it. I just think that, well, I'm not gonna be a idealist, but if we did live in an ideal society, everyone would be on the same level, treated the same. But we don't live in that type of society. Some people are treated better than others because of skin color, because of connections and things of that nature. And some people are looked at as being inferior and as being pests as well. And also, people of color just basically looked at, like from the white perspective, as servants and entertainers. I mean, let's just be real with it. You take care of my kids, and I don't have to see you unless I see you performing. If I see you singing, dancing, playing basketball, all that's cool. And I love your culture. I love your food. I let you cook for me too. I open up a restaurant. I have all the Black cooks. Cook up some chicken, make some macaroni and cheese, or what have you. I let you babysit my children too. But I don't want you marrying my daughter. I don't want to see you at certain functions that I'm in. And when I'm in a certain function, I'm looking at you like, why are you here? What are you doing here? And I don't even care if you have $1 million or $1 billion. You're just a nigga with money at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. We've seen that so many times, because even Blacks with a lot of money, they catch hell. I mean, look at the tennis star Blake. In broad daylight, he was thrown down to the ground. This guy's a tennis star. That doesn't make any to the ground, saying that, oh, mistaken identity. He was just a Black man wearing a suit, and they threw him down. They threw him to the ground. And that's just a shame. And then the same thing with Bill Cosby. I mean, white people love Bill Cosby. But then when the accusations came out, they didn't think about, oh, let's think about this critically. Oh, he's a nigger. Of course he did it. Forget about what he's saying. We'll listen to what they're saying. Mm. Instead of listening to both arguments and then coming up with the opinion. But as soon as the scandal came out, I mean, he was just demonized.
Well, there's definitely.
I think that you look at both sides of the argument, but when it comes to Black people in general, if we commit a crime, or put it like this, even if we don't commit a crime, if we're accused of a crime, it's automatic that we're guilty.
Well, no, and this is accurate, because most people whether they admit it or not, do adhere to an ideology. And when you adhere to an ideology, it frees you up from having to critically think about anything. Because you're like, well, gee, what does the Democratic Party think of this? What do the Catholics think about this? What do the Mormons think about this? What do the Republicans think about this? So then they figure out, oh, well, the Republicans are against this, Democrats are against this, so therefore I'm going to adopt that. When you pick an ideology, it frees you from any critical thinking. But let's talk, yeah.
White supremacy is a hell of an ideology. I mean, it hits all sectors.
But it's reflexive. It's reflexive. That's what it is. It's reflexive. It's like going to the doctor and then he tests your reflex and he's like, okay, black man, and your leg shoots up. I mean, I'm making it sound humorous, but that's pretty much what it is. I mean, that because it's so ingrained in our culture that it's just a reflexive thought or action of most people.
Yeah, because I think it is a sickness, and that's what Minister Farrakhan said. He said America is sick, and that's true. Because it's just white supremacy. That's all what it is, and that's what it permeates the entire planet. And that's what has like a lot of blacks, Indians, and Arabs having a distorted mindset over this ideology, which is actually sick. Like just like with Blumenbach, he was the same way as well, trying to say that black people weren't intelligent because of the size of their brain and all this other nonsense, and the Tuskegee experiment as well with the syphilis. Mm-hmm. That's some really sick stuff if you really think about it. And
it's a sub-history. It's a sub-history. It's not the main history that you read about in children's textbooks in schools. It's a sub-history, which it's unfortunate that it is considered to be a sub-history, this experimentation on black people.
Yeah, because to be honest, these history classes in public schools, they should talk about what the real history. I mean, don't sugarcoat it. And that's what's wrong with America too.
I was a teacher one time, and I had to deal with an American U.S. history textbook when I was a teacher, and I would read the chapters and I would laugh. I'm like, this isn't even vaguely accurate. Just about Columbus. Oh my God, they would start with Columbus and they would give a bio about Columbus, and I'm like, this is so. And the thing is that all you have to do, yeah, but all you have to do is go to like, you can download Columbus's diary that he kept, and you can see just the seething racism and his motive and what he did. He documented everything. So this idea of thinking, oh, well, maybe Columbus wasn't such a great guy, they're like, oh, well, that's alternative history. It's not, though. It's accurate history because he documented everything that he did in his own diaries, which is free to download on the web. So it's not an alternate history, but that's kind of, when they write these U.S. history textbooks, they take the status quo. Well, what is most acceptable to society right now?
Yeah, because it was just done by design. Because all of that was BS anyway. But it's to make Europeans look good. That's basically all it is. But just tell the real history. I mean, you came over here, you conquered people. That was basically it. You bamboozled the people.
And he murdered people. The Arawaks. He pretty much decimated an entire culture.
I mean, killed people. The original people come from Africa. I mean, we've had so much of an impact on the world. We continue to do so. Talk about the Denmark BC. Talk about the reason why in his 50s, even he was combating white supremacy. I mean, let's talk about that. Talk about Nat Turner. Talk about everyone else who was going through white supremacy and what they had to do in order to conquer it. I mean, just to be honest, because we're supposed to live there's supposed to be freedom of speech, and we're supposed to be an honest country. So let's just be honest. put everything out in the open, just like I believe it was Elijah Muhammad. No, it was Malcolm X. He was saying that sit the white man down and sit the black man down and just talk about your grievances, what you don't like about black people. All right, what you don't like about white people. And let's just get it out in the open. And I'd rather we have an open society like that instead of sugarcoating it and covering it up and lying and trying to be deceitful and using deception and using confusing language and confusing words. I mean, let's just be honest. Don't try to confuse me and play dumb. Just be straight up. That's the way I look at it.
Right. Yeah, and discourse is important for any democratic society. So speaking of discourse, let's change the topic a bit. Let's talk about your work as a filmmaker and author. What is it like being a filmmaker in New York City? How do you do what you do?
It was kind of interesting because I didn't think I would be a filmmaker because I did take screenwriting in college, whatever. And then I grew out of it. But then goes to show you never know what happens later on in life. I decided to do a film. So what I had to do, I decided to put out ads on Craigslist. What was the other site? Well, they need to pay me a check. I'm giving them a shout out. Indeed, and a couple of other sites. And I was just calling people on the phone. And if they sounded cool, I gave them the part because I had a real tight budget. So if you sounded cool on the phone, you had the part. And of course, I sent them the script as well, and I gave them the backstory of the characters. And then I thought about where I would shoot as well. And I was like, that was just basically it. And then I just had to make some adjustments because when we first started shooting, it didn't come together. So I had to recast. And so I had to hire new actors and actresses, and I also had to get a new cameraman as well.
For what film was this?
Oh, this was for Section New York City, the first film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get permits to actually film in New York City? Did you get permits? Because I recall a quote from Woody Allen who said after Hannah and Her Sisters, "I will never film in New York City ever again." Because he had a big issue with just getting permits to film. Or were you just doing it kind of, I don't want to say illegally, but under the radar?
Oh, hey, I would just say that to get a permit, I was just told that it's maybe $25 or what have you. I don't know if that's a specific amount. I'm not sure, but I know you have to do it way in advance to get a permit. I'm not too sure, but I don't want to say too much because I don't know who's going to be listening to this audio. So
that's a wise plan of action.
I'll just say that. But I definitely had a fun time. It was definitely a great experience directing and also receiving feedback from my cameraman and from the actors as well, because it's just a totally different animal. It feels as if you're running a company because it was just a lot of things to do, like directing, and also I had to do rewrites and also tell the actors as well what type of wardrobe I was looking for particular scenes, and guide them through the process, like exactly I wanted them to say, how I wanted them to walk in the scene. But I also wanted feedback from them as well because I didn't want to be controlling, and I wanted them to be natural as well. So if they had any ideas, I'm always open to ideas. I always told them, if you have an idea, let me know. And if I feel like that idea is better than mine, we'll just go with it. There's nothing wrong with trying it because nothing is set in stone. And I just never wanted to be like the type of a dictator or what have you, like be open-minded. And I want everyone to have fun because I also told people as well, if you're not having fun, you can just leave as well because I want everyone to have fun. And I don't want a tense environment because I told people, I don't want you to look at this as a job. I just want you to look at it as something that you enjoy doing and having fun. Because, you know, with some jobs, it's not fun. It's very demanding. Someone's always behind you. looking over your shoulder. I said, man, just have fun with it. That's basically it. Here's the script, what you think about this part, and that was just basically it. And we just filmed in different places in the city. We filmed at Washington Square Park. Where else? The Lillian Ward houses near the where's that? Oh, that's in Lower Manhattan, and we filmed in I think in Brooklyn as well. Oh yeah, we did in Brooklyn Heights area, but it was definitely a great experience. Definitely a great experience. And the thing about it is, as a filmmaker, I was thinking about the film 24/7. I couldn't think of anything else. That's another thing. Like it's very, it's very, well, it's time consuming, but it's a great time. It's a great thing for it to be time consuming because it was actually fun. Like I really enjoyed doing it, but it's so, I would say it's very immersive. That's not really the word I'm looking for, but it's just a full immersion. It's something that you can't take a break from because you don't want to lose your rhythm as well. And plus, the actors and actresses, they have other projects. You just want to just get it out the way as soon as possible. That was just my mindset. I don't want to rush it, but what I wanted to do is just film and just get it done with, have fun with it. But I don't want it to keep lagging. Because I don't like when things lag. I like to just get it out the way. I mean, I'm not perfect. Sometimes my projects do lag for a while, but I do my best to just keep it going. And with filming, that's something you have to keep it going. And plus, money definitely is time because you have to pay the cinematographer, and also you're paying your actors and actresses as well. So it definitely is. Time is definitely Time is definitely money. I mean, is that right? Time is money.
Time is money.
Make sure that everyone is well taken care of. Make sure that you have food for everyone. You have beverages. Make sure people have the proper attire. Make sure they're not cold. And it's sort of like you're just being mindful of people. And I think that's a good quality that everyone should have. And I think that'll make anyone grow that particular quality, being mindfulness. Because if you're not mindful, they could just leave the set. They can leave the set, but you have to show that you care and that you're concerned with people. But that's my take with filmmaking, and I hope to do some more films as well.
So was it self-funded, texting in New York?
Yes, it was self-funded. Yeah, I funded it myself. I didn't have a Kickstarter or anything else. It was self-funded.
Have you had any experience using Kickstarter or finding investors?
You know what? I haven't done that yet. Maybe in the future I might look into it. I did do a little research on it, but maybe the next project, we'll see how that goes. Maybe I might do Kickstarter or Indiegogo or GoFundMe. I'm open to campaigns. I'm open to that. I might look into that for my next project.
Maybe reading Malcolm X in a Trump era would be a good premise for a movie.
Nah, that's not for me. I'll let somebody else handle that particular topic. I mean, it's an interesting premise, but the thing that I have is that, not saying you per se, but a lot of people was doing Donald Trump's vote when he was like, "Make America Great Again." Now everyone doesn't like Donald Trump. I mean, it's definitely funny, man.
And it begs the question: if he's making it great again, why did it suck before? Like, and then statistics are out. Since Donald Trump's been president, we've actually bottomed out on the economy. We actually have stagnant growth right now, which is the first time in 3 years. And that's what he campaigned on, was stimulating the economy, but it doesn't seem to have worked.
Well, like the old saying goes, be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. I mean, people liked him. He was a maverick. He spoke his mind.
He spoke his mind, but let's be. This is a thing that a lot of I haven't heard any journalists mention this, but he won because of the electoral votes. He did not win the popular vote. But the only reason why Hillary Clinton did not win a bigger percent of the popular vote and the electoral vote was because a lot of other liberals voted for other party candidates. So it ended up splitting the vote to Hillary's detriment. It wasn't this overwhelming support of Trump. It really wasn't. It was because the liberals split the vote by voting for other candidates other than Hillary. So, Hillary, the Clintons, definitely, there's some shady stuff going on. So, a lot of liberals are like, well, I don't like Hillary, so I'm going to vote for another third party candidate. That's why Bernie Sanders did not decide to run as a third party candidate after he lost the Democratic primary, was because he figured that it would split the vote and that a Republican would win. And that's exactly what actually happened. But it wasn't overwhelming support for Trump by any means. It was just a split of the vote. And I used to live in Massachusetts, actually, in Boston. And the entire time I lived there, there was a Republican governor, which is weird because it's such a Democratic state. But in being involved in the Democratic Party in Massachusetts, I realized that they were just splitting the vote every election. So the Republican governors, which when I was there was actually Romney, he got a plurality of the vote, but not a majority of the vote, because other liberal candidates split the vote amongst the Democrats. So that's the only reason why Massachusetts keeps ending up with a Republican governor. But that's exactly what happened in the presidential election.
Well, I don't know. Also read an article that a lot of women voted for Trump too. I can't really cite the source,
which is weird.
I don't remember what.
You have to admit that's weird, though, right? You have to admit that's weird that women would vote for Trump after this whole grabbing women. Yeah.
You could Google it as well, but hey, man, I mean, to me, it's gonna be what it's gonna be, unless he's impeached. But he's not gonna stop me from getting up in the morning and doing what I have to do. I'm not gonna say, "Oh no, Trump, I can't get up and work today."
Right.
What I gotta do. He's the president.
You go on and you produce. Yeah. You write what you want to write. You produce what you want to produce. That's pretty much what artists do. So just to wrap up, where can people read more about you? Where can they watch your films? Where can they read your books? And do you have a book coming up?
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, you can check out the film and the trailer, Texas and New York City, on YouTube. That's Texting in New York City. I have books on Amazon. I have Exotic Ignorance, Episode 8, Camouflage Pizza. And it's about online dating. It's been online and dating. And it causes a revolution online and in the street. And then I have another book called Vertical Algebra. It's personal development quotes from a Black Englishman, translated by me and the alien from Mars. I'm also working on a new book. I'm thinking about, it might be a trilogy. That's what I'm thinking. It's a crime sci-fi book. I'm still writing it as we speak, and I'm working on a couple of other projects as well. What else? My other books, they're out of print. The Mansu Diet. I was thinking about reissuing it. I'm not sure yet. And Biscuits and Yogurt, everything else is out of print. But you could definitely pick up the ebook for Texas, New York City, the original version. I have that on Smashwords. That's basically it. Just keep looking out for my stuff. I'm gonna have more projects this year, definitely. Definitely look out for the crime sci-fi book. What else I have going on? I just have some other ideas going on, and doing some writing as well. But that's just basically it. And it was a pleasure speaking with you, and thank you for having me on your show.
No, it's been great. And just to end on it, you mentioned dating. What's it like dating in New York, and are you single?
Yeah, right now I'm single. I just been focusing on me, just focusing on my project, working. Um, but hey, man, I'm still an HR department. If I see an application that looks good, I mean, I'll put my bid in. I definitely take a notation. I do callbacks. If I'm happy with the thing, yeah, I definitely do a callback. You'll come in for the second interview. So yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, and also my email is ohasa@gmail.com. That's ohassa@gmail.com. If you want to text me or what have you, it's 929-888-4788. I mean, don't leave anything crazy, but yeah, that's my number. Yeah, that's really it. Oh yeah, and also I like women as well. I think you have to definitely tell people who you're interested in nowadays. So I like women. Yeah, 100% women. So just to put that out there, I don't want anything. I just don't want to misguide anyone. I guess I would say that or confuse anyone. So, but I'm traditional. I just say I'm traditional.
All right. Well, thanks for talking with me, and thanks for sharing about your views on politics, racism, and of course all your projects, including your films. And that, yeah, thank you. I guess that's the end of it.
Yeah, thank you. Likewise, I definitely had a tremendous amount of fun. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much, and best of luck to everyone.
All right. Bye, Mansu.